And this is Paul writing to Timothy, encouraging him as he's becoming a preacher. At this point, Paul has declared Timothy his true son in faith and has taken Timothy around the world to preach with him. But eventually, Paul must leave Timothy in Macedonia, and he goes to preach in Ephesus. Paul writes to encourage Timothy because Timothy is young and he knows that he might have trouble getting respect from the people that he preaches to. It's truly amazing that Paul is the one giving Timothy encouragement here, because Paul has seen so many adversities of the Christian faith. At one point, Paul was Saul, and he actually tortured Christians. Obviously, now he's Paul and has been tortured as a Christian. Timothy, on the other hand, is young and full of vigor, slightly oblivious to some of the things a Christian may face. So the reason that Paul is able to encourage Timothy and have this strong faith is because of his outlook on the Christian faith. He realizes that no matter what punishment he faces, that the reward of going to heaven and being with Christ is much greater than anything he may face. And I hope that we can have a similar outlook like that on life. And Paul not only used his outlook to encourage Timothy, but also countless others. I mean, obviously today we still read his books and are encouraged by his words. I would like to highlight on some of Bonner's readings, one of which would be 1 Timothy 4, 8 through 9. For the training of the body has a limited benefit, but godliness is beneficial in every way, since it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. And don't get me wrong, God certainly wants to take care of our earthly bodies, but he tells us that the earthly training of them is not beneficial. If this was followed more commonly, think about how different of a place the world would be. Instead of focusing on sports, school, work, hobbies, or any other thing you might focus on, we'd spend most of our time with God. These other things are not bad. I mean, we can't spend 100% of our time with God, but we just don't need to let them consume our time spent with Him. If we focus too much on these earthly things, we'll find ourselves overwhelmed. I know personally, I get overwhelmed a lot. Obviously, I go to school, I participate in sports, and I work a few jobs in the summer, and I don't really have a whole lot of extra time. And sometimes that takes away from my time to read the Bible or pray and be with God. And so it's a constant struggle to make that time, and that's something as Christians we have to do. I would also like to read 1 Timothy 4, 12 through 13. Let no one despise your youth. Instead, you should be an example to believers in speech and conduct and love and faith and in purity. I'm going to be honest with y'all. When Pastor Mickey asked me to preach, I was pretty reluctant. I was pretty scared. Originally, I felt I was too young and inexperienced. But I prayed and I looked at my Bible and I found this verse. And it's always been one of my favorite verses, but I've never had time to apply it in my life. And I found this was my chance. So, I told him I would come up here and preach today. And this is what gave me the inspiration. And I hope it gives y'all a similar inspiration. I see many people, not just the youth, and including myself, who live far differently from what this verse implies. Speech is one thing that you really see people live far differently from. There are so many people in the world who will use their speech to hurt, to tear down, rather than to show God. Conduct is another thing that people live far differently from. People are often dishonest, disrespectful, and don't abide by the law. Think about if you watch the news, or any television whatsoever. Think about the people that you see that are dishonest, disrespectful, and all the people that have broken the law. Love, faith, and purity. Do we always show these things? I know that I certainly don't. Even when a car cuts you off on the road, do you show that love and that faith and that purity? What about Connor might get a little bit upset about this one, but what about when your siblings getting on your nerves? I know I don't always show that love and that faith and that purity. Do we have faith in those times of our lives when everything seems to go wrong? I know we all have those times, no matter how long a time period it may be, but we almost seem to lose our faith, and it almost seems that God may not be with us, but really He's putting us through these adversities, He's putting us through these tough times so that we're able to learn a lesson. And if you're able to keep your faith in a time like that, then that just shows how strong you are in your faith, and that's so wonderful. And if you're able to say yes, that you do keep these things throughout your life, that even just a few of these things, I can't describe how wonderful that is and how much you've achieved with your walk with Christ. I'd like to talk about acting in a godly way. You may lead a person to become a Christian simply by acting in a way that person admires. This goes back to the old saying that the actions speak louder than words. People will respect the kindness and faith you show due to your love of Jesus. They will see how content and happy you are. You don't desire money. You don't desire materialistic things. You're just content with where you are with Christ. And this is something that you can't get from any other thing in the world. Nothing else provides that contentness, that happiness. So even if someone hasn't known the Christian faith, they will desire that, and it may lead that person to become a Christian. But on the other hand, if you are acting of the world, you cannot provide a person with encouragement. You often may unintentionally lead that person in the wrong direction. An example of this for me is high school. And I say high school, it's just a place that I spend a lot of time. It may be your job, it may be wherever you spend the most time of your life. You will have people that are leading you in a good direction, and they're good Christians, and they're by your side. And you'll have people that aren't good Christians and aren't by your side and need your help. They need you to pick them up. So they were the people who I admired that led me in a good direction. At the same time, being the hard-headed teenager that I am, there are people that I should have listened to and should have looked up to more and didn't. And then, of course, as everywhere in the world, there are those people who would lead you in the wrong direction upon being given the chance. And hopefully your faith as a Christian is strong enough to where you can pick those people up, you can show them Christ, and maybe one day those people will be the people that pick other people up. But it's amazing how significantly our actions can impact others, but also how others' actions can impact us. So we have to keep a constant eye on these things and put God in the center of all of it. I'd like to talk about the light of Christ. A great example of this in the Bible is from Matthew 5:14-16. You're a light of the world. A city situated on a hill cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, but rather on a lampstand, and it gives light for all those that are in the house. In the same way, let your light shine. I think we all know that the world can be a dark place. Everyone is sinful, and many don't know God. But through your connection with God, you can be a light in a dark world. If you've ever been in the pitch black dark, you can notice light within miles away. An example of this for me is I'm a big hunter and fisherman. I'm often up early in the morning and late at night. And so out in the country where there's no light with, no town lights within miles from you, you can see the stars so clearly, no matter if they're trillions of miles away. Your faith follows that same concept. That light of your faith, that light of Christ, stands out above all the sin of the world, and you will be a diamond in the rough. But standing out is not, all good things. As with everything else in the world, it faces adversity. Many people may judge or mistreat you because you're open to your faith. Often this may be from jealousy or because some people want everyone to be of the world. Now, an example of this that I chose is a person you may not necessarily associate with this. It's a person that everybody probably knows well, and that's Mark Richt, a coach that was recently fired from Georgia. this man, if you pay attention to him, he was open to his faith and valued his players above winning games. He would try to lead his players away from all the dangers of being a young adult in college and lead them towards Christ. Mark shined his light on his players, but to my great disappointment, never won a championship. I'm a huge Georgia fan, and I really was rooting for him. But often you'd hear the media say that he was just too good of a man to be a successful coach. And, as a Christian, I hope they're referring to that he just wasn't stern enough. He wasn't tough enough on his players. I can accept that, but in reality, I think they're referring to his faith as a Christian. And that's something that you may face, and adversity you may face. You can't do something because you're a Christian, you're too soft for it. But the sad thing is that's the lightest of things. On the whole other end of the spectrum, think about the missionaries overseas who are killed every day for spreading their light of Christ in a place where not only is there a little light, but the light that shines is illegal. And people are killed for it. So I would also like to talk about your gift. I'll be reading, highlighting once again on Bonner. 1 Timothy 4:14 through 15. Do not neglect the gift that is in you. It was given to you through prophecy, with the laying on of hands by the council leaders. Practice these things, be committed to them, so that your progress may be evident to all. Paul is referring to Timothy's ability to preach. Timothy was gifted by God with an amazing ability to spread his word. But this verse can be applied to all gifts and all people. Every person on earth has multiple gifts from God. Some may find theirs easily, while others may have to search deep down to find theirs. Nevertheless, we all have gifts which God tells us to use for His purpose. And you think to yourself, you say, what's God's purpose in my life? And that's a question that no one here can answer. That's something that you have to pray on and be patient. Right now, being 14, I'm not sure that I know God's purpose in my life. It's something that I'm still waiting on. Think about all the people in the world who can influence others if they use their gifts properly. One group of people that we see every day and we really don't think about, but that could definitely change the lives of others, are celebrities. Whether these people are famous for acting, singing, sports, or countless other things, they're always on camera with millions of people watching them. So this means if these people acted in a godly way, they would show God to millions of people. But I don't have to name any names. Think of yourself. Think of the celebrities that use their gifts for God's purposes and those that use them for their own. I think you will notice an extreme amount use their gifts for the wrong purpose. Our gifts are specially crafted tools which allow us to shine the light of God. Yet, more often than not, we find ourselves not using them at all or using them for the wrong purpose. As we wrap things up, I challenge you. Be an example of Christ. Don't let the world discourage you, but instead be a light in a dark world. I think you will be surprised at how much joy this can bring to not only your life, but the life of others around you. You will be so much more content and so much more happy. I would like to thank my church family for being so supportive of me. I would like to thank my related family